improve your
You
mental
gotta
health.
be willing to go all in. Like,
The
it's your
perfect morning
right.
routine to have the best day of your life every day.
Got the hits for you right here. Looks like traffic's gonna be backed up. It's time to log in.
I don't really think anybody can go ahead and scratch that like red button.
All right, well, Porch, how are we doing tonight? We doing okay? It's great to see you. Thanks for being here, as always. It's wild to think, like, man, we've only got 2 weeks left of regular Porch gatherings here in 2025, but man, I'm glad you're here this week. We've got next week. I think God has really big things in store, and then Christmas at the Porch is gonna be amazing too. So thanks for making time to be here with us in Dallas, Texas. We love what God's doing amongst young adults here in our city, but we also love what he's doing in the lives of young adults all over the nation. I know that you don't get to see it, but man, we get correspondence from different people, and particularly our Porch Live locations, where God is doing a similar work there that he's doing here, and that is an amazing thing to see. Special shout out to our Porch Live locations, Midland, Wheaton, Boise specifically. We love you guys, and we hope to track with what God's gonna do the next 2 weeks as well as in the future. Well, I remember I was 9 years old when I encountered insecurity for the very first time. At least that's the first time that I can remember it. I was running for fourth grade class representative, and after making posters that said, "Vote for Kylen, you'll be smiling," I came up short of actually winning. I came up in second place. Fast forward from there to my senior year of high school. I remember I'd put my campaign woes behind me, and I decided in this moment to run for student council president. And I was doing so against one of my best friends. So I thought to myself, hey, it'll be great. They'll win, I'll win. It doesn't matter. Either one of us will go. But I knew deep down I really wanted this thing. And so I felt well positioned to serve the people and to be voted in by those people, because at that point I was on the football team. Like, I was a leader amongst my peers. I knew that I was genuinely well liked amongst people around me. I was destined for Texas A&M, and despite it all, once the ballots were tallied, I found that I again came in second place, and I was not sufficient to serve my friends the way that I wanted. I looked at myself, and I had no posters to blame any longer. Now it just felt as if I wasn't good enough. Fast forward from there, I did end up going to Texas A&M, and as I was at Texas A&M, I got to serve for a campus ministry that I genuinely loved. Like, this was something so unexpected for me, and yet when I got there and I found myself enrolled as one of their volunteers, it was the best experience. Like, I met Jesus for the first time, and I fell in love with the scriptures. I was getting the chance to serve my peers, and as I was doing all this, an opportunity came my senior year of college to step into a potential leadership role, because a vacancy had finally come open, and it was a dream of mine to step into that position, serve the students of our campus. And yet you didn't get to apply for these leadership positions. Instead, the staff would come along, they would tap you on the shoulder, and they'd pull you in and appoint you to position. And so I was praying that they would do it with me, but they didn't. Instead, they selected somebody different from a different team altogether, because they estimated that there were no suitable leaders on our team. And that one hurt. And then after I graduated, I found myself working my first full-time job. It was in a company that I really loved, amongst the people that I really loved. They were young, and they were innovative and ambitious. They were the kind of people that I wanted to be associated with. And I liked my job, but there was a new job coming open. And I was like, man, I've got to hop into that thing, because that is the kind of position where I could really see myself sitting and staying a while. I could drop roots. I could cement sort of a type of experience in this corporate environment that will last the test of time. And so I put my application in, and I went through the entire interview process, 1, 2, 3 interviews, and naturally I came up second again. They went with someone different, someone unexpected, and yet, though I wanted to be there so badly, in that moment for me, it felt like they didn't want me to be there nearly as badly in response. insecurity is a really big part of my story. And I could go on, but I tell you that because I think some of these moments in my life are reflective of some of the moments in this room. Like you have experienced your own insecurities because it is extremely prevalent in the lives of people, but particularly young adults. Like you think about yourself and you assess yourself in comparison to others and you find yourself insecure in the things that you have or have not achieved, insecure in the way that you do look, insecure in the eyes of your heroes and not measuring up to what they would want, insecure at the possibility of failure. And because you feel this way, what ends up happening is you change yourself, you look at yourself and deem yourself insufficient. And so you start to contort your identity to become more than you actually are. And so you go from being insecure to now becoming an imposter, which isn't just some of us, it's a lot of us. According to the American Psychological Association, 82% of adults report facing feelings of imposter syndrome. What's imposter syndrome? It's feeling like a fraud, like a phony, like a total sham, like you're sitting in rooms you're not supposed to be in, doing things that you feel totally inadequate to be doing. You're acting like something that you're not just because you feel the real you isn't actually enough. And so what you do is you think, no, I need to be someone smarter. I need to be someone sharper. I need to be someone stronger. I need to be someone prettier. I need to be someone wittier. I need to be someone better. I need to be someone impressive. Or like you think to yourself, I'm not sufficient. And so let me add to myself whatever it is I'm lacking so that way I can be. And the repercussions of it are really damaging. I remember I had a friend in high school. He was an awesome guy, but he would change the way he talked depending upon the people that he was with. You've got friends like this. Some of them are sitting in this room. Like whenever he was in the locker room with the boys, he cussed like a sailor. Whenever he was in classroom with our teachers, he had the best manners. Whenever he was talking to a girl, he was the smoothest guy around. Like he would adjust the way he spoke depending upon the crowd that he was with. And so one day I just asked him, I was like, hey, why do you do that? And he said something that I thought was really profound. He was like, people don't want the real me. They want their version of me. And at just 18 years old, from the mouths of babes, like he said something that it just resonated deeply. And it felt so very sad. And as true as it was then, I think that that is still true for many of us today. Now, let me be really clear. When I talk to you about changing things about yourself, I'm not saying that every time you change something about yourself, you're trying to make up for some deficiency you feel, that everything you adapt is because you're insecure at heart. That's not the truth. The reality is many of you are wearing camo, though you've never worn camo in your life. And the reason you're wearing camo right now is because it's fashionable, not because you're insecure. Which I think is really funny. If you think hunters, people that wear camouflage on a regular basis, they are some of the least fashion conscious people in the world. And yet they're the ones setting the trends for young adults like you and I here today. But that's beside the point. The reason I bring that up is because you're allowed to change things because you like what you see on the outside. But many of us change things because we don't like what we see on the inside. We don't like who we are, and we don't think others will either. So we contort our identities. Like we change who we are socially, professionally, romantically, even spiritually. And the mental toll of doing so, it can be really devastating. Like just doing some research on this, like if you indulge your low self-esteem or your insecurities, what happens is it could lead you to experience burnout because you're overworking your job, like you're performance-oriented and you want to measure up in the eyes of other people, and so you're going to burn yourself out of a desire just to prove yourself to others. Maybe that's not the case for you. Maybe it's you're filled with an intense self-loathing because you're not achieving your goals, and so you've grown dissatisfied with who you are and your incapacity to actually attain the things that you want in life. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's you're indulging in eating disorder because you're unhappy with your body. You look at yourself in the mirror and you wish you could change some things. Perhaps it's not that. Maybe you're filled with social anxiety. You come into places like this and all you want is to fit in, and yet you feel like no matter how hard you try, it's so difficult to do that. Maybe that's not it. Maybe for you, you're battling trauma because you endured some sort of past abuse that you never invited into your life. Someone stepped in and took something from you that was not theirs to have in the first place, and now you're left picking up the pieces and moving forward as well as you can, and you're actually traumatized. Maybe it's something else entirely, but here's the thing. People suffer in the face of their insecurity. And so tonight, I want to give us, it's not just you, it's us, it's me too, a new perspective on insecurity. And the way that I want to do it is I want us to look at Psalm chapter 139. So if you have a Bible, you can pull it out, you can turn with me there. This is a really famous psalm. It's a beautiful passage of scripture. Honestly, part of me kind of dreaded teaching it because it feels so esteemed and I want to honor it as well as I can. But I think it's the perfect place for us to come tonight. Now, here's what you gotta know. The reason we're in the Psalms is because as we've been working through this series called 2020, we're trying to get God's perspective on our mental health. And the reason for that is God is an emotional being. Do you ever think about that? Like all throughout the scripture, you can look at the way he interacts with people and you can see, man, that is a God filled with emotion. And because we've been made in his image, we likewise have emotion, but oftentimes we don't know what to do with it. For many of us, emotion freaks us out. And so we stuff it way down deep inside where we can never see it and no one can ever see it either. Others of us, we love our emotions. We wear them out on our sleeve like an accessory for the world to admire. Like, I don't know what your position is when it comes to your emotions, but the truth of the matter is the Bible would advise against both of those alternatives, that you shouldn't just suppress your emotions and you shouldn't obsess over them. Rather, you should just express them. Like, you should just tell God what it is you're actually feeling. We're to feel our emotions deeply, express our emotions honestly, and then process our emotions truthfully. We come to God and we give him what we feel. And he comes to us and he gives us what he says. And the union of those things, his truth and our feelings, leads to a wholly integrated type of belief, one where we can love the Lord our God with our heart and our soul and our mind and our strength. That's the beauty of learning how to do this well. And the Psalms teach us better than most other places because we see the authors, the psalmists, David, the sons of Korah, Asaph, a variety of people do this themselves. And so tonight we're gonna see David do it himself. But before we can actually see what the right perspective is on this problem, we need to understand the problem. That's what we've been doing in this series. We've been trying to really take each sort of mental health disorder or issue and unpack it a little bit at the beginning before we apply God's word to it specifically. And so that's what I wanna do with you here. You see, what we find is that in Psalm 139, it helps us to understand the problem of insecurity. If you look at it, it's 24 total verses, and those 24 verses break into 4 different sections, each of 6 verses apiece. And those 4 sections tell us something really important. They help us to identify the source for much of our insecurity. And so I thought it would just be helpful. In an effort to understand the problem, let's just talk about these 4 sections before we study them together. Does that sound good to you? So here it is. What do these 4 sections say? And where might your insecurity be particularly rooted? The first one is there can be insecurity from what you've done. What you've done. So this specifically comes from shame you feel over actions you've taken. These are the things you did, or the things you said, or the things you thought. It could be that you're ashamed of how you handled a past relationship, ashamed of how you treated an old friend, ashamed of how you took advantage of someone else for your own benefit, how you made fun of someone just to get a rise out of other people. I don't know what it is for you, but it's really important for us to consider what have we done that might be producing insecurity in our life. And so to help you figure that out, I've got a diagnostic question for you, a series of them. That will help us to process these 4 categories. The right diagnostic question for shame over what you've done would be, what is your biggest regret in life? What's your biggest regret in life? If an answer springs top of mind, then that tells you, man, I've probably got some insecurities rooted in things that I've done in the past. See how that works? Okay, number 2. The second would be insecurity from where you've been. So this one isn't about shame from actions you've taken, it's about shame from situations you've faced. So it could be that you're ashamed of where you grew up. You're ashamed of the family you come from. It could be that you're ashamed of the college you went to or that you didn't go to college. It could be that you're ashamed that you had a marriage that failed and now you're divorced. It could be you're ashamed of the job you sit in or the job you don't. It could be it's shame rooted in a particular situation. So here's a good diagnostic question for you if you're trying to discern, am I insecure about some place I've come from or somewhere I've been? The question is, what part of my story am I most embarrassed about? What part of my story am I most embarrassed by? If something just screams straight to mind, then that's probably some insecurity sourced in a place you've been, somewhere you were. Third one can be insecurity from how you're made. Insecurity from how you're made. This one is all about shame, not from your actions, not from your situation, but from your distinctions. Those little uniquenesses, the things that make you who you are. It could be that you're ashamed of how you look. You're ashamed of how your voice sounds. You don't like the way your personality is expressed. You wish you could change something that is intrinsically true about who you are. You're not where you want to be in life. You wish you weren't so emotional. This is the area that most people statistically are insecure. So a good question, if you're trying to identify if this is where your insecurity is sourced, is what would I change about myself if I could? What would I change about myself if I could? Again, if I pose that to you and something comes very quickly to the mind, there's a good chance that you have some insecurities wrapped up in who you are and how you're made. And the fourth one is insecurity from why you're here or why you do what you do. This one is not about action, not about situation, not about distinction. This one's all about motivation. So it could be that even though you would never admit it, you're actually ashamed of the reason you have that job or you date that girl or you hang out with those friends or you buy nice things. And that's because your motivation isn't as innocent as you'd like. It could be that your motivation for having that job is just because it makes you feel powerful, not because it's actually doing good or serving people. It could be that you're dating that girl, you're dating that guy just because it feels good to be needed and you get approval from them. That's a very selfish reason to be in a relationship. It could be that you buy nice things because it just makes you feel important and it actually makes you feel better than other people. All of these are not good reasons to do what you do. And so a helpful question, just to diagnose, man, like, is this my personal insecurity? The root of so much of my low self-esteem would be, what area of my life do I justify most? What area of your life do you justify most? If you have to justify it, you probably don't have a very good reason for doing it. See how that works? Again, these questions, they don't help us solve our insecurities, but they do help us understand them, man. Like, where do they come from? And as we actually understand our insecurities, what we realize is insecurity ain't cute. Like, it's easy just to talk about insecurities because everybody's got them, but insecurities are not cute, they're dangerous. Like, really, insecurity is an attack on self. And so a good word for insecurity, a synonymous description, is insecurity is basically the same as self-hate. That there's something in you you do not like. And so you are willing to do whatever it takes to change that part of yourself. Sure, maybe it's because you think you'll be better, but ultimately it's because you think you couldn't get worse. We have to understand what God has to say about self-hate. And so to help us figure it out, we're gonna look at Psalm 139 because although your problem may be self-hate, your perspective can be self-forgetfulness. It can be self-forgetfulness, which I know probably catches you off guard a little bit. You're like, wait, hold on. So the solution to self-hate is self-forgetfulness? Wouldn't it naturally be the opposite of hate? Wouldn't it be self-love? Like, shouldn't I just book a couple 60-minute massages, get some mimosas with the girls at brunch, make sure that I'm taking naps in front of the TV as it washes over me on Sundays and football is playing there? Should I just book my next trip and explore whatever my next national park is? Like, shouldn't I do something that takes the pressure off, that makes me feel good? No. I mean, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with that stuff, but that is not going to deliver you from self-hate. You see, the path out of self-hate isn't self-love, it's self-forgetfulness. It's realizing I don't need to give myself more attention, I need to give God more attention. And as I set my eyes upon him, he who is worthy, he who is better, he who is infinitely good, I actually begin to see myself a little bit differently. Because as I see God rightly, I see myself rightly in response. That's what John Calvin said. In a quote, he says, "It is certain that man never achieves a clear knowledge of himself unless he has first looked upon God's face. And then, after doing so, he descends from contemplating him to scrutinizing himself." Scrutinize feels like a harsh word, but that's just evaluating yourself. So it raises the question for us. If the goal is to see God so that way we can see ourselves, what will we see when we actually put our eyes upon him? Well, that's what Psalm 139 is all about. And so we're gonna take it verse by verse by verse. You're gonna get 4 points out of this, and each of those points corresponds to one of the 4 categories we just talked about. And so we're just gonna pick it up from the beginning. And as we do, what we're gonna see is David is going to help us see 4 things about who God is that informs who we are. Got that? All right, look at verse 1. He says this, "O Lord, you've searched me. You know me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down. You're acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, you know it all together, Lord. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay a hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It's high. I cannot attain it." What's David saying right here? He's saying very simply, if you look at the verbs, God knows everything. Like, he knows everything. He is full of knowledge on every single topic in the cosmos. Another way of describing this is what theologians call omniscience. God is omniscient. What's that mean? Well, a good definition for omniscience is that God knows everything actual and possible in one simple and eternal act. That feels like a lot of words, so I'm gonna help you understand what it actually means, because it's profound when you really get down to the bottom of it. So God knows everything actual, meaning he knows all that exists. Everything. All that exists within the world right now, he knows it. He knows the big things and he knows the small things. We see that in the Gospel of Matthew. It says this in chapter 10, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny?" What's a sparrow? A sparrow is the cheapest offering someone could buy to give to God, meaning it is relatively valueless, and yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. He knows the smallest thing. It says in the next verse, "But even the hairs of your head, they're all numbered," which for some of you isn't hard for God to count, but for others of you, you've got a lot of hair, and God's really working that out. You know, he knows all things. But it's not just that he knows all that does exist, he also knows all that will exist. I love this one. Isaiah 46, it says in verse 9, "For I am God, there's no one else. I am God, there's none like me, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times things not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand and I will accomplish all my purpose." What is that verse saying? It's saying God calls his shot and he makes it every single time. Like, he knows exactly what's going to happen. Not yet what has, but what will. He knows all that actually exists. That's the first part of that definition. The second part is that he also knows all that could possibly exist, meaning he knows completely about what could, but won't happen. Isn't that crazy? Matthew 11, Jesus says, "Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes." You hear it? They would have. They didn't, but they would have. Jesus is able to look at a possibility and tell you exactly what would have happened because he knows not just what is actual, but also what is possible. Meaning, he knows how things would have played out if you would have asked her on a date, even though you never will. He knows how good the Mavs would have been if we hadn't traded Luka off and we could have paired him with Cooper Flagg. And yet we never will. He knows what The Bachelorette season 22 would have been like without Taylor Frankie Paul as the primary contestant, even though we never will. He knows all that could possibly exist. And that's so hard to wrap your mind around. Like, think about it. Think about how many different variations there could be to the way things play out. The thousands upon thousands of variations that could be true in our world. Like, there are animators that have come up with creatures in movies that don't exist in the real world. But God's like, I knew about that one. Knew about that one too. Like, he knows about things we've never even thought about. God has an infinite imagination, and everything that could be, all that he thinks about, he knows it completely. He's omniscient. And what's even crazier, this is the craziest thing for me, is that it's not even hard for him to do it. That's what it means when it says that it is a simple act. It means that he knows everything without ever trying to break a sweat to remember it. He's not ever looking at Gabriel and being like, hey, tell me about that thing that we talked about that one time. He's not calling up the archangel Michael and being like, hey, you're gonna have to remind me from time to time. No, like, he doesn't need anybody to help him out. Like, things just instinctively, intuitively come to him because he's omniscient. It's simple and it's eternal, which just means he's never gonna learn anything that he doesn't already know. He knows it all right now. Okay, that's how big God is. We should get our eyes on his omniscience, the fact that he knows everything. But here's the amazing thing. David, he knows God's not just omniscient universally. He's omniscient personally. He knows everything about everything, and he knows everything about me. Which tells us the first thing you've got to know if you want to overcome self-hate, that God knows all about you. He knows all about you. Like David says, God has searched him. Isn't that interesting? I thought God couldn't learn anything. What's he doing searching you, investigating you, literally digging into you to uncover something? Well, that language is actually really beautiful. Because it wouldn't be wrong to be like, God knows me, because that's true. But when he says God has searched me, he's not just saying God knows me. He's saying God has gotten to know me. That's a relational type of language. It's a language that says God cares to spend time, to go slow, to learn about who I am, even though he doesn't even need to learn it because he knows it already. It's an incredible idea that God, he is aware of all of you and he has taken time to make it clear to you. And that's really important when we deal with our insecurities, because the same God that has gotten to know you has not forgotten about you. Like, no matter how overlooked or unimportant or undervalued or insignificant you feel in life, God knows you. He knows the most secret things in your life. Like, go down into whatever is most secret within you. God is deeper than even that. Like, God knows the thoughts you think about yourself that you would never admit to the open world. God knows the words you whisper under your breath so that no one would ever hear them. Yet he has. God knows the very thing that you are fully intending to take to the grave with you. And yet he wants you to know he went to the grave for that thing too. He knows everything about you. He knows the answer to that first question. What's your biggest regret? He knows it because he was there for it. And he died for it. Why would God do that? Why would an all-knowing God do this? So you can have confidence, so I can have confidence that God knew what he was purchasing when he died on the cross for your sins. That there's nothing about you he's ever gonna uncover and think to himself, oh boy, I didn't know that was gonna happen. He's never gonna second guess whether or not that was a good decision, calling you to salvation through faith in his son. Like, he's never going to wonder, man, did I make a good call or would I take it back? No, he knows everything about you. And yet he chose to die for you anyways. He chose to rise for you anyways. That gives you, in the face of insecurity, great security. Because you can know, I am fully known. The best parts of me and the worst parts of me. And yet, I'm still fully loved. That's the first thing. Let's keep going. Second thing, we're gonna pick it up in verse 7. He says, where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you're there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you're there. If I take the wings of the morning or the dawn, and I dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me. Your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me and the light about me be night. Even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you. What's David saying this time? It's pretty clear, right? God's everywhere. He is everywhere. Or another way of saying it is he is omnipresent. He's omnipresent. What does that mean? It means God is present in all places with every part of his being. He is present in all places, which means you should never play hide and seek with the big guy. Like, you're not gonna go somewhere where he doesn't know where you're at. He's already there right now. That's what Jeremiah 23 says. It says, am I a God at hand, declares the Lord, and not a God far away? Can a man hide himself in secret places so that I cannot see him? Do I not fill heaven and earth, declares the Lord? Like, that is astounding. There's nowhere you could ever go where God will not be there. David, he unpacks 5 different descriptors of where he might go, and yet God is there too. He says, if I ascend to the heights of heaven, meaning if I go to the land of the living, if I descend to the depths of Sheol, that place of the dead, God, you're there. He says, if I rise up on the wings of the morning, the dawn, where's the sun rise? In what direction? In the east, meaning if you go as far east as possible. Or if I go to the uttermost parts of the sea, which from David's vantage point in Israel would be which direction? West. No matter how far east I go, no matter how far west I go, you're there too. And even God, if I try to conceal myself within the dark, where none can find me, the darkness is like light to you. David is saying, you are omnipresent. You're everywhere. You are omnipresent universally. And you're omnipresent personally. You're omnipresent personally. God wants to be with you. That's why he says, your hand will lead me. Your right hand will hold me. Again, that's relational language right there. Like, God doesn't have us all on Find My Friends. Like, oh, look, there they are. Like, where are they going? What are they doing out there? Like, that's not how God treats you. He doesn't have you on Find My Friends. He's with his friends. He's with you wherever it is you are. This is the second point you got to know. God is always with you. He's always with you. Which is why I regularly say to our online audience, and I'll say it to you again, we believe that God can meet with any person at any time and in any place because he is as much here as he is anywhere. He's wherever we are. Now, let me be really clear. I've had some stunning encounters, some powerful moments with God in awesome places, like at the summit of a 14er or in the Christian catacombs of Rome, or singing amongst thousands of believers, young adults just like myself in this room here tonight. And yet some of the most powerful moments with God have not been in the most stunning of places, but in the most simple, because he doesn't just meet you in the extraordinary, he meets you in the ordinary. For me, God has had some powerful encounters with me on the corner of my couch early in the morning. He's had some powerful encounters with me sitting in the driveway of my house in Houston. Some powerful encounters with me as just a college sophomore on the floor of his bedroom, trying to figure this stuff all out. You see, it's not where you meet with God that makes the moment powerful. It's that you're meeting with God that makes the moment powerful. That's what makes the difference. That's what makes him awesome. So it raises a huge question for us, at least it did for me. Why then do so many Christians feel like God is far off? If he's everywhere, he's always with me too. Why then does it feel like he's so far off? I talk to people all the time, down here at the foot of the stage, over coffees, at lunches, and they just feel like they're in a spiritual drought, like they're spiritually sedated, and they don't know why. They wish God were close to them again. Let me tell you why he feels far off. It's not because he's moved. It's because we have. We move. He doesn't. For some of us, we moved deliberately. That's what sin is. Sin is a deliberate movement away from the presence of God. For others of us, we moved unwillingly from his presence. That's what suffering can do in the life of a person. But here's the thing, for many of us, for most of us, we unknowingly move from his presence because things just get busy. Life just gets crazy. We get swept up into work and friends and relationships. And as we do so, we lose focus of him. And as we lose focus of our source of security, guess what grows inside? Insecurity. He feels far away. And so if that's you, if you're here tonight and you're like, man, God feels so far away, then know this, he may feel far off, but you're not too far gone. Because when you were at your furthest, Christ came for you. And if you're here tonight and you're resonating with this idea that, man, God, I just want to be near you again, I promise you, he wants to be near you too. He's with you right now, and he's come for you tonight. You need only place your faith in him. That's not all. Let's keep going. It says this in 13 through 18. For you formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, God, for I'm fearfully and I'm wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes, they saw my unformed substance. In your book were written every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. If I would count them, they're more than the sand. I awake and still I'm with you. This is the section of this passage that we got to liberate from your mother's like coffee table, you know? Like this is the portion of text that's not predominantly about you, it is predominantly about him. And so listen to what it says. The third thing that David is trying to help you understand is God is all powerful. He is all powerful. He is omnipotent. He's omnipotent, which means what? A good definition for it is God is able to do all his holy will. Now, his holy will in that section is really important because the idea there is God will never do something that contradicts his holiness, his character. And so some people are like, can God make a rock so big that he can't move it? And that's a really dumb question, you know? Like that would not accord with truth or rationale. And then also some people would wonder, man, can God tempt me to evil? No, because God is only good. God can do all according to his holy will, which just AKA means he can do whatever the heck he wants, all right? Jeremiah 32:17 says, Lord God, it is you who have made the heavens and the earth by your great power and by your outstretched arm. Hear this, nothing's too hard for you. Ephesians 3:20, now to him who is able to do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think. How much do you think you could ask of God? How much do you think you could think of God? He can do more. According to the power that's at work, guess where? Within you. Matthew 19:26 says, but Jesus looked at them and he said, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. So much so, in fact, that God is able to do even more than he actually does. Isn't that crazy? Like, he can do more than he actually does. Like, just think, there's a story where John the Baptist, he confronts the religious leaders and he says, hey, God from these stones could raise up children for Abraham. Huh? Did he do it? No, but he could have. Exodus 32, God looks at Moses and he's like, I'm done with the nation of Israel. They've betrayed me for the last time. I'm gonna do away with all of them. I'm gonna start over with you. Could he have done that? Start over an entire nation with one man? Somehow. He didn't, but he could. Again, God is all powerful. Nothing's too hard for him. He can do whatever he wants so long it accords with his character. And this is what grips David. He realizes God is not just omnipotent universally, he is omnipotent personally. And the reason he knows it is because as he looks at himself, he knows God made me exactly how he wanted me. And he made you exactly how he wanted you. Like, he didn't make a mistake. Like, wherever it is, as you evaluate yourself, whatever it is about you that you love in yourself, like great head of hair and a strong jaw, and I love the money I make, you don't get to take credit for that, bro. God did that. And even the areas of your life that you don't like what you see in the mirror, like those things that, man, you wish you could change. You've worked so hard trying to. And not even the things about your appearance, but the things in your life, the jobs you have, the city you're in, the places you go, the friends that you have, like whatever it is in terms of your station in the world, God did that too. You're not an accident. David says, you formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Which I'm not sure if it's trending anymore, but like a year ago, knitting was cool again. Y'all remember that? Like everybody was kind of in their grandma era and they were crocheting like sweaters and scarves and hats and all the sorts of things. I'm no expert when it comes to knitting. I'm not a knitfluencer. And yet what I do know is every time I'd see somebody knitting or crocheting something, for the love of God, it never felt like y'all finished. They're just sitting there, just always knitting. I'm like, are you ever gonna wear one of these things? And yet therein was such an incredible reality about the whole science to knitting. It wasn't just that you take delight in the finished product. You took delight in the process of making whatever it was you were making. God doesn't just take delight in the person that you are. He takes great delight in the process of making you who you are. Do you see it? He knit you together. He even goes on. He says, I was intricately woven in the depths of the earth. I don't even know what that means, but that sounds awesome. Which just tells you God had a vision in mind when he made you. Like he had clarity of what he wanted to be true in your life and that he accomplished it. David even goes on. He says, in your book were written all the days formed for me before there even was one, which tells us God not only cared about who David was, but he also cared about what David did. And the same thing is true for you. He has a plan for your life. He has a purpose for the way you are. That's why David said he was fearfully and wonderfully made. Like David didn't just step in front of a mirror and be like, now that is one fearful and wonderful devil. You know, like that was not the way that he looked at himself. What he thought was, my God is fearsome and wonderful. And anything that bears the mark of its maker is likewise fearsome and wonderful. Augustine, he said, men go abroad to wonder at the heights of mountains, at the huge waves of the sea, at the long courses of the rivers, at the vast compass of the ocean, at the circular motions of the stars. And yet they pass by themselves without ever wondering. You and I, we are one of the greatest evidences to the existence of God. We don't have time to get into the intricacy of the human anatomy, what it would take to make you. But I promise you, it's not by happenstance. It's not because something just fell together. It's because God, he knit you. He wove you. He made you. So if you look at yourself and all you feel is self-hate, Let me be really clear. You are looking way too hard at yourself and you are not looking hard enough at your God. Because if you look at him, you will not see self-hate. You'll fall into self-forgetfulness. You'll only see him. Last one, here we go. Oh, that you would slay the wicked, O God. O men of blood, depart from me. They speak against you with malicious intent. Your enemies, they take your name in vain. Do I not hate those who hate you, O Lord? Do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with complete hatred. I count them my enemies. Search me, O God, know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. See if there be any grievous way in me and lead me in the way everlasting. Now, admittedly, this last section, the fourth and final section, it doesn't read quite as smoothly or poetically as everything else did before it. It's a little bit more bristling, which begs the question for us, why? Like, it seems like somebody poured salt in the open wound of David, and we need to assess why that is. Well, just think, what has David said? What has David seen? He's seen. God is omniscient. He knows everything. He knows everything about me. I'm fully known, and yet I'm fully loved. He sees that God is omnipresent. Like, it doesn't matter how far I try to go from God, he's with me wherever it is I am. He knows God is omnipotent, that God cares about how I am and what I do. And because of all of this, as he thinks about all of who God is, what it loads up into his mind is gratitude for the goodness of God. He sees, God, you're not just all-knowing, you're not just all-powerful, you're not just everywhere all at once, you are all good. You're so good. He's omnibenevolent, which just means God is always and absolutely good. He's always good, meaning there's never a time when his goodness is not true. Some of you question that, but just know this book, it attests to the fact that there's not a moment when he is not good. He is always good, and he's absolutely good, which means everything about who he is and what he does is always worthy of approval. Luke 18:19. Jesus said to them, why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone. Psalm 105 says, for the Lord is good, his steadfast love endures forever. His faithfulness is to all generations. Psalm 34:8 says, oh, taste and see, the Lord's good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. James 1:17 says, every good gift and every perfect gift is from where? From above, from the only giver of every good and perfect gift, coming down from the Father of lights. You see, when we consider who God truly is, we cannot draw another conclusion. All we can arrive at is he is always and absolutely good. Like, he is the most omnibenevolent being in the universe, but he is also the most omnibenevolent being to you. He's good to you, which as I say that, I know some of you are like, how can he be good to me? Like, yeah, the point is God is always good to you, but how can he be good to me? Like, I've suffered, I've struggled, I've strived, I feel beat up, I feel broken down, I feel bruised. Kylen, this doesn't make any sense how he could be good. How can God be good and I deal with all that I've dealt with? How can God be good when bad things happen to good people? The answer to that question is they don't. For none is good. No, not one. God alone is good, and all he does is good. And we are the ones who have wronged him in our trespasses and sins. And yet Titus tells us, when the goodness, and the loving kindness of God our Savior appeared, he saved us. Not because of works done by us, but according to his own mercy, by the washing of regeneration and renewal of the Holy Spirit. You see, the question that we should be conflicted with is not how can God be good when bad things happen to good people? The question we should be conflicted with is how can God be good when the worst thing happened to the best person, his own son? You want to know the answer? God can be good in the face of that because it proves to us that he's so good, he does not give himself for the lovable. He gives himself for the hateful, so much so that he would offer no one else for none else's good, but he would satisfy the righteous requirement of his own wrath by laying himself down through the form of the Son. And in so doing, he would endure all the hate that you pin up for yourself. Christ died for that. He endured all of the hate, all of the insecurity, all of the inadequacy, all of the inconsistencies you feel about who you are. He endured all of it. All of the hate that you have pales in comparison to all the hate God has against your sin. And yet that laid on Christ as he stood upon your cross. And all the love that you're so unwilling to give yourself, that I'm so unwilling to give myself, God has freely lavished upon us for those that have placed their faith in him. You see, here's what you gotta know. Christ became all that we're not. And so if you're here and you're insecure from what you've done, God knows all that you've done, and he died for it anyways. If you're here and you're insecure from where you've been, God was there, and he's with you now. If you're insecure from how you're made, God knows what you don't like about yourself. He made it himself. But he died to save all of you anyways, not just the parts that you think worthy. And if you're insecure from why you do what you do, why you're here, God's goodness is always reaching, especially when we're in the wrong. If you're here and you're struggling with self-hate tonight, just know you should not hate that which Christ has loved and laid his life down for. Let me pray that you wouldn't.